Greetings, YouTube. The other day I was reading a thread on Fark. Fark is a site I visit on a daily basis, though I would freely admit they have more of a noise to signal ratio, but it is often entertaining and occasionally it is insightful. Um, and there was a thread discussing a business owner that was paying his employees a living wage. And this, of course, brings up the whole idea that American workers don't deserve a living wage. And someone posted something which I thought was very well written, which is unusual for Fark, I freely admit. Usually, if the quips are good, they tend to be very short quips. But someone actually wrote something of a little more substance, and I thought that I would share it today because I think it really does successfully summarize a certain attitude by a lot of folks that support the 1%, even though they are not members of it. So these threads are always a joy. The water carriers for the rich use the same three arguments every time. They start by saying you're poor because you didn't work hard. Never mind, some of the most exhausting jobs pay basically nothing. Never mind the single parent working two jobs while raising kids. Never mind that trust fund kids born on third base thinking they hit a triple. Never mind all the ways life can fark you. We definitely live in a meritocracy. Anyone that uses the word meritocracy, by the way, is probably trying to screw the middle class and poor. And very likely, if they're a member of the middle class and poor using that word, they're delusional. Also, quite possibly libertarian. Then they move on to one of the next two, though the order is interchangeable. You're poor because you add no value. Never mind that we pay the folks educating the next generation $40,000 a year, but the Wall Street gamblers who cost our economy billions upon billions were handsomely compensated, and also bulletproof as far as prosecution is concerned. You're poor, in the second argument, you're poor because the immutable laws of the market handed down from on high by supply-side Jesus himself deemed it necessary so your betters can live like God intended. You can't change the law to mess with market for the benefit of the poor. Never mind that the rich have systematically destroyed unions and undermined labor laws. Never mind that political power of corporate lobbying. You see, the rich are allowed to use every tool at their disposal to wring out every nickel for their benefit, but the poor fighting for themselves is class warfare. And this particular frame of reference is one that I've encountered many, many times. That Americans, in particular, seem to believe that the American dream is real, and it isn't. It was bullshit the first time that phrase was ever said, and it's bullshit now. I can remember when I was growing up, the refrain, if it's good for business, it's good for America, was something that was in the atmosphere of my upbringing. But I was brought up in an atmosphere of political conservatism. And in fact, I knew on some level that a lot of what my family has said was bull. I was essentially a political conservative in my younger years. And I now regret that particular position because I was speaking from ignorance. I didn't have any idea what I was talking about. Political conservatism is not the path that we need, and of course, thankfully, I was never a social conservative. Because social conservatism is a disease. I'll be doing a video about that at some point as well. But the whole idea that the poor deserve to be poor, that the middle class should strive for the upper echelons because, if you just work hard enough, you can get there, is all bull. You can't. We have never had a free market in America, and free markets would be a horrible idea. I've often looked at capitalism as a necessary evil. I look upon it the same way I look at nuclear fuel. Under close and strong regulation, nuclear fuel can be used in very functional and beneficial ways. Unrestricted, nuclear fuel is incredibly dangerous. And that's how I see capitalism. That if we regulate it and we make sure that we have strong regulations protecting workers and protecting the environment and protecting consumers, and making sure that the corporations and the wealthy that control the corporations pay taxes, and a lot of them don't, and and they should be paying a far larger portion of the taxes than they do now. The middle class and poor should be paying fewer taxes since they have less of the wealth. Um, these are things that we should be doing, and we aren't. And it's distressing to me when I see middle class and poor people buy into the bull that is spewed by political candidates like Trump. That you just work harder, you'll get far in life. Trump had $40 million handed to him, and he used that $40 million to become a billionaire. Well, guess what? If you just stuck that $40 million into the right kind of accounts, you'd be a billionaire by now too. It had nothing to do with his genius. He was one of those people born on third base and thinking he hit a triple, if you'll forgive the sports metaphor. And I'm tired of people like that telling the folks that are never even going to get a swing at bat that, if you just work harder, you can end up here too. No, you can't. It's never going to happen. So we need a social security net, a safety net for us, to make sure that no one goes without shelter, without food, without education, without health care, so that we do not let anyone in our world go without the necessities of life. We can do this. We have the money. We have just inexplicably given it to the wealthy to control, and we need to stop that. We need to go after those who are the eager water carriers for the oligarchy and tell them to stop doing that. To stop pushing forward a meme that is toxic, a worldview that is toxic. We can do this. We have the power. We are the power. If it wasn't for the workers, none of the wealth of the world would exist. Labor is the source of all wealth. And yet we let the capitalists control that wealth. It is ours. Which is also why I advocate taxing wealth and not income. It would affect the 99 almost not at all, because we don't control the wealth of the world at the moment. It would, however, affect those that do. And they did not achieve that wealth through honest work or through being clever or being geniuses. They achieved it through deceit and through bribery and through dumb luck. And people shouldn't be rewarded for that. And that's what we do at the moment. We reward people for deceit and bribery and luck. And we tell people that who are not willing to be deceitful and bribe and who are unlucky that they are undeserving of anything. So, yeah. That's why I'm a socialist. That's why I believe in a strong social safety net. Now, I've often referred to myself as a democratic socialist. And I do this because I believe in democracy and I'm a socialist. I'm not a social democrat in the sense that I am a member of the Democratic Party and believe in socialism. I vote Democrat. I do not actually consider myself to be a part of the Democratic Party. I vote Democrat because that is the best chance I've got at getting Republicans out of office. And at the moment, that is more important than anything. Keep Republicans out of power. And of course, their allies, the Tea Party and Libertarians. So that's why I call myself a democratic socialist. Now, I'm aware that there are other people that have other meanings for that phrase. Awesome. It's not how I'm using it. I use it because I believe in democracy. I'm a socialist. And that seems to be a really good term to use if I hold both those views at the same time. So, let's talk about this. Let's have a discussion about how we can help to make sure that the wealth of the world is under the control of the people that earn it and not the parasites at the top.